Hey there, I'm Ginny.
And I'm Monica.
And this is Hitting Her Mark,
Podcast for women in the arts, actors, filmmakers, artists who are passionately chasing their creative dreams.
all juggling the beautiful chaos of caring for the ones you love.
We're here to share stories, insights, and inspiration, proving that you can hit your mark without compromising what matters most.
So if you're ready to make your creative dreams a reality, let's dive in. Sarah Cleveland is a Canadian actress known for her authentic and versatile performances in film and television. Born in Ontario, she developed a passion for the arts early on and transitioned into acting, where she gained recognition for her roles in both feature and short films. Notably, her portrayal of Casey Lawson in A Father's Fight earned her the Best Lead Actress Award at the 2021 International Christian Film Festival. She also contributed to the success of Intervene, a short film that received multiple awards and an Emmy nomination. In addition to acting, Sarah is involved in various aspects of filmmaking, including writing, producing, and directing. She's currently producing the feature film Gunpowder Desire and preparing to make her directorial debut. Sarah also actively supports the Canadian film industry through her role as the festival director for the Eye2Eye Film Festival, volunteering with Film Access Northumberland, and participating in judging and coaching for various festivals. This winter, Sarah will star in the thriller Broken Bones, made possible by her team's success in winning a $60,000 film pitch at the Forest City Film Festival. She remains passionate about storytelling and collaboration within the film community. Welcome, Sarah Cleveland. Thank you so much for joining us here on Hitting Her Mark.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I feel like we've done this before. This was great.
We know each other from many different ways. We have the same agent.
Yep. Love her.
Same as Idalina. And we met each other for the first time when we were watching our agent Jessica Martin's her Spinning Gold.
Right.
That's the first time we actually met in person.
That's wild.
And then through that, I think we interacted. I think we're on this project together for, like, you were producing a project at some point.
Sure.
It was trickle and flow.
Sarah's so busy she can't keep track of what projects she worked with you on, which is fair.
Right. Yeah.
Sure.
Sorry. Yeah. I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh, that's brutal. You know what the problem is? The problem is that I think that we've run into each other in so many different capacities now that it's kind of, I'm glad you can remember the first one, and kudos to you, because I would not have remembered that it was for Spinning Gold, but you're right, it was. But yeah, we've known each other for a while, and Monica over here, I follow and stalk a little bit and have seen all of some wonderful things about her, but haven't met her, so this is great. I mean, and I'm really glad she hopped on and joined us today.
Yes, me too. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes. So full disclosure for our audience, there might be some technical issues, but we're just going to keep going because that's what we do.
Because we're working moms and we're actors, and we know we just got to carry on.
Yeah. And we hit that mark. We hit that mark no matter what.
That's right.
Okay, Sarah, tell us about your acting beginnings, because I would love to know how this all started for you.
So it's funny, actually. It was kind of a different start than most people. I did a little bit of drama and theater and stuff when I was younger. And then coming from a small town of 15,000 people, that's not really something that's fostered or really encouraged by any means. Also, with parents, they're like, so how are you going to pay your bills? So it wasn't something that was really, it just really wasn't going to happen for me. But then there was a radio call, like a radio casting call for background extras for Disney's The Music Man way back in the day. That was like over 20 years ago. And I was like, I'm going to do it. It's going to be great. But I had a job. I was a manager at the time of a restaurant. And I went in and I was like, I'm going to book this. I'm going to land it. And I was there for weeks. I mean, it was such a fun experience. Pretty sure I just played a whole bunch of cards for the most part and froze my hiney off because it was really cold and we had to pretend it was July. And it doesn't matter how boring or how cold it was. I loved the experience. I was thrilled. I was thrilled to be there. Didn't really know the rules of everything at the time. Kristen Chenoweth and Molly Shannon, and I was just like going up to wow. And yeah, anyway. So, but it was a really, really fun experience. And so after that, I really thought that I was going to kind of go off and do the thing. And then I met my husband, and he was a single dad. And so that kind of went off to the wayside, and which I'm super, super grateful for. And it wasn't until my youngest daughter, who's now almost 14, she had started to get a little bit older, and I was like, you know what? I think it's time for me to kind of go back and explore this. And ironically enough, it had been another radio casting call. Like, that's not a thing anymore. I don't know how. Anyway, fine. But I did this. I did just some background for this feature film in Kentucky, and because that's where I was living at the time. I'm not a shy person, and maybe that's a problem. I'm also kind of a little. Anyway, the whole production company, they're from LA. And it was cold and it was miserable. And I was like, hey, do you guys want to come over for dinner and I'll make you some chili? And I think they thought I was a psychopath because who's this like random background girl in Louisville, Kentucky, asking the entire production and cast and crew
their hero
for dinner.
Or their hero.
So they did. And it kind of became a thing. I ended up doing like 13 films with them, and they came every film. I had everybody come for dinner, and it was a fun thing to do. So for me, it was also social time. It wasn't just getting to do, what I loved. It was getting to be social. So then I came back to Canada and got together with Hero Artists, and kind of started from there. So the behind the scenes of the camera. So behind the camera started when I was in Kentucky. I'd asked the production company if I could shadow them and learn about casting and prep and all of that stuff that goes with it.
And that's so amazing that you just did that, because there's so many actors that always want permission. Like, oh, I can't do that. I can't invite a whole cast over for dinner.
That's sometimes the beauty of the naivety too of the beginning. Like if you're like, just like, no one said that you couldn't, like, you don't know. So why wouldn't you just give it a shot? So I think that's great.
Well, and there's some of my best friends, like, still to this day, right? It's funny. But yeah, so I did the kind of shadowing there. And then when I came back to Canada, I had kind of started small again and had to join the union. And I thought that was going to take quite a while. I was very lucky that it didn't take as long as I had thought. And that's, thanks to some amazing people who were really, really rooting for me as well. And then I went to one of the Lifetime directors that I had been working with. I was like, hey, can I your next film for free and just like follow you? I want to know how to direct. And so I did that, which is where the directing kind of came into play. So, and now I've started doing that. I'm applying actually right now to Telefilm for the Talent to Watch program. We'll see how that goes. Telefilm funding. Yeah. You never know. But for a feature to be like my first big one, and I'm co-directing a series. So I'm very excited about that. So yeah, so there's all different things kind of coming into play.
I really relate to that because I took like a huge hiatus in my career as well. And what did you find was like the biggest? I mean, I was looking at your IMDb and I saw The Music Man at 2003, and then it was like 2018. You just sort of take off and you have all these like MOW credits. I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. 2018 was a great year. And I'm just curious, like what was the biggest challenge for you sort of coming back to the industry? Like, I know you're talking about how you can't do acting like your parents and stuff like that. So what was the biggest challenge for you coming back after a hiatus?
Time management, first of all, trying to balance that family work life, that's a challenge. And I know we all experience that, trying to make sure that you're there for all the important moments and you don't want to miss out on anything. And at the same time, kind of, if you have this wonderful opportunity, do you let it pass? And so I think that was a bit of the challenge, first of all. And the second part was coming back to it, I guess maybe in Canada was more of a challenge for me because I had built up a network. I built up, casting directors knew who I was. It was a different kind of story. And then I came back and I started from scratch. And I'm like, how am I going to do this all over again? So it was kind of like 3 times that I had started. And I would say that coming back to Canada was actually the bigger challenge just because, you come back and you're like, hi, I'm, well, we're not going to say how old I am, but, such and such old woman. No, just kidding. It's fine. But, I'm a 40-year-old woman. And are you going to take me seriously that, you've never seen me before? I've never been in front of you. It's kind of, it can be a bit of a liability, right? Is she worth the risk? And so a lot of classes again, just kind of getting to know people, attending a lot of panels, and really just getting out there, I think was Yeah. I mean, Jenny saw me this year at events. I will walk up to anybody.
That's great.
I will just go up and I'm like, hey, I'm amazed. So, blah, 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 blah. And it's funny because I saw this one girl and I was like, oh my gosh, I know you. I don't know how we know each other. And we chatted and it was a great conversation. And someone came up and whispered me, he's really famous, Sarah. And I was like, yeah. And it was really funny because she's like, oh, well, give me your phone and we'll connect on Insta and I'll visit you next time. And she leaves and he's like, don't do. What? I don't know. No, I think it's you can get past the fear of maybe being rejected or whatever. I think that was just overcoming that. And now I'm just like, well, whatever. If someone wants to work with me, great. And if you don't, that's okay.
I think you're not coming at it from an angle. You're just being yourself. So it's authentic. So it works, right? Like, it's not like you're coming at it like, oh, I need to talk to that person because, I
had no idea.
Exactly. It's great. Perfect scenario.
Oop. But anyway, yeah. No, but like I said, when I came back, first of all, Hero Artist has been nothing but supportive and amazing and incredible. Alona Smythe from Smythe Casting, she's been amazing. Larissa Mayer, they've been really, really helpful. I think one of the other things too, and just kind of talking, I'm kind of rambling at this point, but just kind of to encourage people, there's so much more to the industry than just acting. And I think if you can remember that, perfect example here, podcast, but doing the film festival was a huge, eye-opening, awakening thing for me.
How did you?
Eye2Eye?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you get into that?
It was weird. It was 2020. Oh, by the way, yeah, I moved back in 2020, December 2020. It was super great timing. I saw my house via Zoom, so that's how we picked our home. Oh, it was great.
Wait, sorry. I want to back up a little bit. Why are you in Kentucky?
My husband's job. We were there for 10 years. Yeah.
Okay, so you grew up in Canada.
Yep.
You met your husband in Canada.
Yep. And then we all moved to Kentucky.
You all moved to Kentucky. You started a life there. And then was it because of his job that you came back?
So, yeah, some things had changed there, but also family being back here. And it was also a very challenging time, obviously, through the pandemic. And so there were a lot of reasons.
Okay. Right.
But yeah, so we came back. But what I was going to say was I had seen I guess there was like a sponsored ad through my Facebook, and it was talking about this film festival in my hometown of 15,000.
This is Coburg?
And I'm like,
yeah.
Coburg. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, Coburg has a film festival? What? And it turned out to be that it was like they were just starting. It was their first year. They decided to do it outside. So it was 2021, I guess, actually, because they wanted to keep people separate. So 6 feet apart lawn chairs. They did it in the band shell, which I'm sure if you watched Ginny and Georgia, you would have seen that band shell where people do their presentations and stuff. So I messaged the director at the time and I was like, hey, I would love to come and attend. Like, I'm an actor. I just moved back, whatever. And so I just was like her personal assistant for the weekend. And then I joined as a member to kind of volunteer for things. And then I knew I was direct. So that it happened very quickly. This is our 5th year. So I've been involved with it for all 5 years, just in different capacities. But yeah, someone had asked, would you take it over? I was like, I have no idea what to do, but sure, let's go for it. But that's how you learn, right? It's just trial and error. So last year was incredible. Adam McGoyan came last year.
That's amazing.
And I was crazy. We had like 9 directors last year that came and talked about their films. And we're a hybrid festival, so it's theme based, and then we have new films and older films. But the whole focus of the weekend is to offer opportunities for emerging filmmakers. So our Sunday is focused on local high school, so only in the county high school students for the first showcase. And the second showcase is then emerging filmmakers in Ontario for college and above. So we're trying to just, help to foster that knowledge. And we offer mentorships as well as cash and in-kind prizes as well. So they kind of get this opportunity to follow someone after a little bit, and kind of like what I did.
You're giving the opportunity, right? Like, all of us have had that experience growing up, having it made it seem like it was impossible. Like, being an actor, like, you're not. It's not going to happen for you, or a director, or anything really artistic. But through your festival, you're making it possible for these young students to see themselves in the industry, and That's so inspiring.
Yeah, even the high school students, last year we started that, and it was just so cool seeing them bring their friends and their family. And we're like, just start off with an iPhone for all we care. Just get out there and do it. And they are, and it's great.
So what have you learned by being the director of the Eye2Eye Film Festival? Like, what's been the greatest joys and the biggest challenges in trying to, run this thing?
Well, I would say the biggest challenge is always money. I mean, we're a charitable organization, especially this year. This year's a really, really hard year. People are afraid. People are nervous. People don't know where their money is going or what's happening to their businesses. So nobody is donating. So this year is a really hard year. So that's always the number one challenge. The other one is sometimes getting volunteers. That's a big part. Again, it's a charitable organization, so we're not paying people to come out and help run these things. So it's a lot of work. It's a full year of work. It's not, it's not, what am I going to say? It's not an easy task. It's definitely a full-time job. Even when it comes down to social media, I mean, we have to do all the social media. We have to do all of the programming. We have to do all the licensing. It's a lot of work. Now, I'm super grateful because I have a co-director now, and she's phenomenal, and she's great at numbers and budgets, and we work really well together. She does kind of the front of house stuff, and then I do the stage stuff, and I deal with the our guests for the weekend and that sort of thing, and then we both deal with filmmakers, and so that's been really, really amazing. We're very different, and we get along so well, so that's great. But my favorite thing about it is when I totally reach out to someone random. Trust me, I ask everybody that it has to do with the film, and they answer. And I'm just like, yeah, oh, I can't believe you answered me. It's usually a no, but you answered me. Like we showed a film last year and Nicolas Cage was in, and I was like, I'm gonna ask him if he wants to come. And they're like, you're not. And I was like, well, we'll see. I got a reply. They were like, thank you so much for the invitation. I can't make it. I was like, that could be a bullshit robot answer. I don't care. I got an answer.
You got an answer.
It's acknowledgement. Yeah. It's like, thanks for acknowledging my existence and my hard work.
Yeah. No, but in all seriousness, it is really nice. It's my favorite day, obviously, is Sunday, watching the filmmakers connect with other filmmakers that they look up to, and then they get to have this mentorship program with, and that's ultimately, exactly why we're doing what we're doing. So that's my favorite part of the whole festival.
For someone who is considering submitting to this festival or any festivals, how do you curate them? Do you have any tips for anyone?
No. Well, like I said, for the weekend, it's, for the Friday and Saturday, our features, they're theme based. And so those are usually they're programmed by our programming committee and not for submissions. And as for for the high school and the emerging filmmakers program, it's just, based on if you're under 20 minutes for the film forward, and if you're under 10 minutes for a film newcomer, they're all so different. The films that we get we had one that was a stop motion, all Lego. It was phenomenal. And then we have a horror, and then we have a love story, and, there's everything. And it's a miracle what people can do with under 20 minutes. Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, there's nothing specific, but if they want to submit, just Film Freeway is where we have submissions go.
It's amazing, Sarah. I want to talk a little bit about your acting, if I can move on to that a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you've really built a career for yourself and you continue to work consistently. Do you have any advice for actors auditioning out there? Any advice to actors on how to approach their audition and what's been successful for you in your process?
Training. I will say, even when you think I've got it, I've figured this out. I know I know exactly what I'm going to do. If you get into a class and it's something completely different, you're like, oh, I never really considered that. So I think that's something that people tend to shy away from, especially because of the cost or whatnot. But even if it's just getting together with somebody else and running lines just for the heck of it, getting some feedback that way. All feedback is good feedback. Whether it's terrible feedback, it's somebody's opinion, right? And that person is the person who's going to be watching television or film. It doesn't mean you have to go with it. I'm just saying, but, having a little bit of feedback from everybody.
Especially nowadays where we're self-taping into the void, it's hard to get feedback.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's challenging. Again, I mean, very simple things, having your setup properly, making sure your sound is clear, those very specific things. But in terms of in terms of auditioning, my auditions are very different. I'm sure you guys have done the same thing where you go back and look at something 10 years ago and you look at something now, and it's very, very different. Whatever I think is right, I tone it down because I have a big personality and my hands are moving, and and it's very funny because for me it really is acting because this is me. This is how I move in life, right? So I really just very grounded. Everything is so grounded these days, and even in the Lifetime and Hallmark. I mean, Hallmark's a little bit obviously a little perkier and that sort of thing. But even in the Lifetime kind of genre, it's very grounded now. It's definitely come down so much more even in the last couple of years. And I think that's because we really enjoy more of the realism, even when it's a little far-fetched, right? We enjoy the realism of the characters on TV and
Yes,
film.
even I've noticed like little technical things sometimes too. Like even like I'm very a loud speaker, like I project a lot. Even that in my audition, I've learned I've had to like, okay, like the person's right here. I do not need to shout at them. Like, take your voice, even your volume level can sometimes be the difference of toning it down.
And the same thing with your reader. Like with your reader, you want to make sure, sorry, it's cold in my basement, so I'm like, and like sniffling. Yeah, but your reader as well. Like you don't want their voice to be projecting so loud and overcoming, then they hear the reader like, wait, who is that actually though? Like that person was great. And, no, that's my daughter. We don't want that. We don't want that. But having a great reader is really important. My daughter is phenomenal. Thank God. So I'm really, really lucky that I have that in the house. But there's so many programs as well that people use if you don't have a friend that can read. Excuse me, We Audition being obviously the biggest one that I'm aware of. But there are some other smaller ones. And if you're in Toronto, there's, studios and stuff you can go into. I don't live anywhere near anything like that. So it is my basement.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
So that's
You talked about prior to this conversation, you talked a lot about sacrificing and struggling, balancing all of the wonderful artistic things that you do, but also having your family as a priority.
Yeah.
What are some of the recent sacrifices or challenges that you've sort of had to overcome?
Hey, it's not a family thing, but I recently had a trip to Italy, and I've never been to Italy. And then I booked a role, and I really, really, really wanted to work with this director, and so I did not go to Italy, and my daughter went in my place. Yeah, it was brutal. And then the worst part, like I'm not gonna lie, the worst part was it was like the worst winter week. Like I must have shoveled 400 times. Like I was just so like
Mother Nature.
But I was
Mother Nature was punishing you.
Yeah,
She was really sticking it to you.
I have to say this because Sarah, so I really feel for you on this one. So maybe 2 years ago, we had booked a family trip to Spain, Portugal, and I booked two, like MOW, but it was like number 3 on the call sheet. And it was a double MOW, like part 1, part 2. So it was 2 back-to-back movies shooting in Montreal. So I'd be in Montreal like almost the entire summer. And it was like, I was still, a couple years ago, I was still, I'm still building. I'm always still building. But I felt like, and I also canceled.
Did you
freaking canceled. And okay, so, sorry, not to make this about me, but.
No, I love I love that. But like that we
Dude, I felt like crap. Like I felt so guilty, and this was like we were meeting friends in Portugal. They were posting pictures. Like it was tough, and like our whole family didn't go, and we just rearranged our summer plans. Just this week, we booked for this summer. We're going to Spain and Portugal.
Okay.
My husband's like,
you're audition. You're no audition.
Yeah.
This is happening. So, yeah, fingers crossed.
Yes.
See what
I get it. Yeah. So yeah, I've been really lucky that I haven't missed any family stuff yet. Somehow, knock on wood, I've been very lucky that way. And maybe it's the same with you too, but I don't know. But I did have one time where I was on set for October 31st. And I tell this story all the time because I still think it was just like the craziest, nicest thing that happened. But I was on set. And Kevin Sizemore, actually, who was playing my husband from Fear the Walking Dead, he was the lead. And he came in and he was like, "Isn't it today your daughter's birthday?" And I was like, and it's also Halloween, right? He's like, yeah, you should be there. Hang on. He went and he asked, and they flipped the whole schedule for the day so that I could be shot out first and go
Love
home.
that.
So
And I was just
amazing.
like, that was so nice. And nobody needed to do that. But all of production changed the entire day. So I could go trick-or-treating with my birthday girl. Yeah. So I've been lucky so far.
Like makes this possible, right? When everybody supports
Mhm.
everybody.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it
Just
can't
really
always happen. And you
considerate.
know that. Like, there was no way I was expecting to be home that night. And, it is what it is. But yeah, but I have been lucky in terms of the family stuff. My daughter was thrilled, don't get me wrong, that I did not go to Italy because she had a wonderful time.
Really worked out for her.
She's like, I'll be a great reader for you again. What do I get to do next? Anyway, fine. Fine. I'm not bitter. It's fine.
It's fine. It's fine.
It's not
Yeah,
fine.
I
Everything's
had a similar experience, but I actually did the opposite. I had booked, so when I had auditioned for, it was a commercial. When I had auditioned for it, it was to be shot just before I went on my trip to Thailand by a few days. And I did the callback. It was great. They put me on hold, but I was like, it's a veil check, like whatever, right? That doesn't really mean anything.
I know, but we
And
always
then-
hope it does.
We always hope it does, but I think we just kind of learned to be like, we're gonna pair our expectations back a touch. So I was like, yeah, I'm available. Perfect. It would be great to book it. And then like a few hours went by, and then they came back and said, oh, we have to shift the production. Can you do it this day? And that was the day that I was leaving for a trip to Thailand, which I had booked with my mom like months ago. And I was just like, oh, I can't. But I was just like, again, it's just a hold. I was like, whatever, I can't do it. But then my agent actually like then messages me and it's like, are you sure you can't shift your trip? Because I'm pretty sure they actually want to book you. And I was like, you're like, wait, hold. So that made it harder. But I was just like, you know what? I was like, let me just check with my mother. And she was like, no. Mommy? Yeah. And she said no. So I was just like, you know what? This is like a trip that we had planned for a really long time. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to have to stick with my plans. And my agents were super supportive and they're like, no, that's more important. Like, you've got to do this thing. And yeah.
Life still happens.
Yeah.
These are the challenges of this industry, right? Like you can never plan. It's so impossible sometimes to plan your life because you don't know what's going to pop up. You don't know if there's an audition tomorrow that's like, oh, this is the audition that you really, need to hunker down and prepare for. It makes it so difficult. And with a family, your family has to kind of navigate around that as well.
Your friend, like you were talking about your trip and for my 40th birthday, we canceled it twice because I booked twice. And so like my poor girlfriend, and God love her, she was like, hey, yeah, I can just go back to HR and request a new date for the third time. And I was like, I'm so sorry. And then the third one, ironically enough, I did book and I was like, I can't. I'm going on this show. You get me like,
Right.
So it's
Wow.
but
Yeah.
always the way, right? It is always the way when you have something.
Well, that's the saying, right? Like, you want to book a job, book a vacation.
Exactly.
First,
Exactly it. Yeah. Yeah. Book a plane ticket. So maybe what we need to do is we all find like the cheapest, like $49 flight somewhere and just pay for it and see what happens.
Good strategy. I like this.
I know. Yeah. Well, you wanted some ideas. I'm just saying.
Right. Right.
Oh, man.
And the thing is, that's extra hard about the industry is, like, I remember when I first started, people were like, the summer is the busy season. By like October, it's dead. So, you're like, oh, okay. So like, that's the off season, but it goes on all year now. Like, I think it's like Christmas.
Yeah.
And that's like the one week break. Like, I still get auditions, especially now with the self-tapes. Like, you still get the auditions, but they're not due until like Jan.
Yeah, I know. I did appreciate that this year. I think it was actually the 7th. I think they were all like the 7th, which was really decent this year. But
Yeah, this year was good.
I know. It was like everyone actually took a break. But I was shooting this year, like I shot all of December, took a break. We actually stopped production for us to have Christmas and then continued like the first week of January. So I was like, what is this? Wild. I'm like,
Yeah, so there's like no
fate. They're so
Like you don't know what, like, there's no season to plan. There's no like, okay, definitely I can't do this, but I can't, like, there's no open window. You don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I track all my auditions and I try to come up with some type of system. And it's like,
Yeah.
one May was dead, but then the following May was super busy. Like,
Yeah. And for those of you who don't follow Ginny, I love that you put it out there every month of, your auditions, your bookings, your callbacks, your holds, like that. It's just so real and so honest. And I'm just like, I don't know if I could do that, but good for you. Like nobody else to know that about. And so, but no, seriously, but it's very real and honest about what it looks like. And it looks
Also,
like
there's so little transparency sometimes, right? Like you don't know what's going. It's like you are kind of working in silos, so it's kind of nice to see, like, okay, like it lets other actors know what's going on, right? It's like, okay, yeah, okay, that's where I'm at, or or okay, maybe my month was slower or busier, or whatever, right?
yeah, I mean, some months are definitely easier to host than others. There have been some tough ones in 2024
Yeah.
for sure. But and it's so subjective. Like people in different markets. Like I posted like this past month. So for knock on wood, I've been really lucky in the past couple months. I've had 2 bookings each month, and I posted that. I'm so excited about it. Most people are like, "Oh my god, that's amazing!" And then you'll get some people super well meaning that are like, "Oh, that sucks. Keep going." And I'm like, "What? What do you mean?"
That sucks.
They're just like, keep on swimming. And I'm like, on swimming every day.
God.
man, brutal.
Yeah.
So we're talking kind of about the challenges. One thing I did like to, though, this is like a sidebar thing, but the whole actor thing where they changed it to 2 days. Is it 2 days for an audition now?
Oh,
48 hours. And then also not on the weekends.
And it doesn't include
Not the weekends.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's why the 7th was because of all the holidays.
Potentially.
Yeah, I know. That was a huge difference for like some of them. Well, and the worst part is not the worst part. I love this when it happens because it's great. But you get 2 for the same production, and then you're like, I have both of those and I have to memorize and do within 24 hours. But now we do have that time, which is really, really great. And also great because my daughter works. So I'm like, what's your schedule? You're finished at 10? 11 work.
You have 2 jobs now.
She does. And she knows it. She's like, I wish I wasn't so good. I'm like, well, you already stepped in that one. Sorry. It's happening anyway. She's good.
I'll buy you lunch.
Yeah. It's usually like, the deal is now I can't say just one more. I'm not allowed to say that. That's a no phrase in our house because I'll be like, I just want to do that one more time or just one more. We're just going to do just one more. And she's like, you can't say just one more. Because you want to try different things when you have the opportunity to try different things.
Yes, of course.
I mean, when you're in it, don't get me wrong. I know so many people love being in the room. I love self-tape. I do love being in the room to actually meet the people, but I love self-tapes, A, because it's on my own time. B, I live far away, which a lot of people do now. Not everyone lives close by to that, to where you're going to audition. But also, it allows us the opportunity to be unique and change and make alterations to whatever, and maybe it's the same way every time. Maybe it comes out, you're like, okay, well, actually, I guess that's the way it's going down. But it gives you the chance to be creative, I think, with it. So, and, some of them I have gone completely outside the box, and that was a very bad decision. And sometimes I've gone completely outside the box, and it was the right decision.
Yeah, but what I hear from casting directors is when you go outside of the box, even though it wasn't the right decision for that role, that's how you stand out to them for future opportunities, right? So it's never wrong.
It's not wrong.
It's just perhaps not right
for being booked right now.
for this particular role.
I also think self-taping has taught us like the technical components too, right? Like if you're watching your work more, you're seeing how it reads on camera. How something that maybe that you wouldn't have done before in person, like to a certain extent, maybe you'd rehearse it in front of camera and before you show up at a in-person audition to see how it's reading. But I think this makes you way more aware of like how even like the slightest adjustments can look on camera and how that reads to the audience. So I think it's been I think it's good knowledge for us as actors doing self-tapes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
totally.
Yeah,
Yeah, I find
agree.
I've been blinking a lot. That a lot of the times once I get in front of the camera, maybe it's the lights, maybe it's the how close I have to be for the frame. But there are times where I'm just like, oh my God, why did I blink? Do I need eye drops?
When are you taping? The only thing that does that to me is Walmart. And if I walk into Walmart, it's like, I don't know what's happening.
Yep. These auditions, they do want it on location,
Yeah. Okay, so let me ask. I'm gonna ask the question now because I'm just gonna go ahead. Yeah, it's fine. Where is the weirdest location that you've had to do a self tape?
Oh, I've done one in like a Home Depot. I was just like, I'm bringing my tripod, folks.
That's amazing.
Because they were like, you need to, the scene was pushing, like you're loading heavy things into a cart and you're pushing it. I was like, I didn't mind that.
Yeah,
I was like, well, do that here. Right? Like,
I'd love to. We went to Home Depot.
And I was like, you know what? What we happened, I think it ended up working out because my husband was like, oh, I go pick up some things. I was like, oh, I want to come.
She does the husband voice. You do the husband voice too. Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna have to do that. What? Do that. Sorry, I don't know. We're just talking like this. It's so funny. Sorry.
Get by how I sound. I was like,
I was just gonna say, do you ever do that voice to your husband? Because my husband's like, oh, really?
Yes. Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
So funny.
I'm like, that's exactly how
So
you
just
sound
like
because
this.
I'm an excellent actor, okay?
Yeah. I mimicked it perfectly. And there's 3 of us now on the podcast that all agree that that's what they sound like.
Sweetie, this is what you sound like. Okay?
Yeah.
If you're listening.
They're always like dopey. They always start to look,
Well, I'm really glad he said let's go to Home Depot because it worked out really well.
I mean, I didn't book it. Or anything. But I was like, you know what? I feel like it would have been quicker for me to just do that than me trying to be like, okay, so this chair could be like hearts. This stool could be my large, you know what I mean? I'm like, I just gotta go. I do this. I do like car, like anytime it's a car commercial, I just get in my car,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna get in the car.
When it's food, I eat the food. I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't
for
care.
sure.
Like, I'm going, if it was like McDonald's donuts, I'm coming home with a dozen McDonald's
Yeah.
donuts. Like, I'd like,
Car, but I'll have like
I need
thanks.
Something.
I'm selling it.
Yeah. It's going.
Like a weird location, to be honest. Like the car is probably the weirdest. But I was listening to this podcast. It's called That One Audition. And one of the actors was talking, and I just thought this was crazy. He did his from the airplane. Like he was on a flight and it was a live, I think it was a live Zoom, and he logged into the Wi-Fi and he literally was doing the audition from like the bathroom.
That's incredible.
Like, but don't worry.
Tell me he booked it.
Fucking
Like,
booked it.
You
He
should book
booked
it.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's
amazing.
serious determination. Like,
So that was interesting.
the only time I haven't had a weird one, but I had a really embarrassing one. Not like, not embarrassing, like it wasn't terrible, but I was actually shooting. So, but I was staying in a cabin and it was like a motel cabin. So it was like me and then there was someone on the right, someone on the left. But we were in the middle of nowhere. It was out in Algonquin Park. And I got an audition for Hallmark. It was like the easiest audition. Like I'm talking about Christmas cookies, like it was so easy. But for some reason, every transport truck in the world uses this road. And I'm like right on the road. So every time a transport truck went by, I had to stop and redo the audition. I also was on Wi-Fi in the middle of Algonquin Park, which is not great Wi-Fi, let me just tell you, with my daughter on the phone.
People don't go to Algonquin Park to stream.
No. So I must have done that audition, the easiest audition in the world, 100 times between the Wi-Fi disconnecting or a transport truck going by, and it was super loud. Now, I wake up in the morning and I walk out my door and a guy walks out right next to me, and it is the guy who's going to play my husband that day, who would have heard me do the easiest audition 100 times the night before and probably thought, this is the trick I have to work. And even remember how to say cookies. I was so embarrassed when he walked out. I was like thin wall. Yeah, it was really disappointing and really humiliating. And I just remember going like, and of course, because I call myself out. I'm like, if you heard me do that 100 times last night, I know my lines, I swear. It was so bad. I was so humiliated. Then I called my daughter in the car and she's like, sucker. Sucker. Yeah, that was like the worst.
It's fine. It's for the love.
Right. I say that phrase so often that for my birthday, I received 3 different certs from 3 different people that say it's fine, I'm fine, everything's fine. I was like, no, I really use that a lot.
Okay, I think maybe one, or we're wrapping up something that perhaps you wish you had started doing sooner. That, like that you've grown over the years, like whether it's self-taping or, you're already super outgoing and not afraid to approach people. So, I mean, you started doing that from the sort of the get-go. Yeah. But is there anything that you wish you had started doing earlier?
The biggest things I wish I would have really put more focus to earlier on was my headshots. They stand out so well, and they're very different. They're very different here than they are in the States. So, and probably just acknowledging and being more comfortable in my own skin. I mean, if you look, they're looking for everybody all the time. It's not one specific look that they're looking for. And so this past year, actually, when Megan Vincent did my headshot, I went in bare. I was like, I want no makeup. I want no hair. I just want me. And I have nothing on. And that was probably
liberating.
I don't know.
Liberating.
Yes, it was. It was liberating, and I think that also comes with age. I wish that would have been something I could have had earlier to recognize and understand that you don't have to look a certain way and you don't have to be a certain thing. You just have to be yourself. And so, yeah, that I wish for every actor, especially the younger ones who think that they have to be with all these filters and stuff like that. I'm like, you don't need to. You just need to be you.
There's so much pressure in this industry. You feel like you have to look a certain way, or you have to. I don't know. It is a difficult thing that I think, especially for women and aging women, as we age, as we get older, it's such a challenge. So that's wonderful. I love that, Sarah. Thank you. I think that's really going to inspire a lot of women.
Just be you. People either like it or they don't, or you just humiliate yourself on a daily basis and it's fine.
Yeah, that too. You could do that. You've obviously been working in the industry for a while now. What has been the most challenging aspect? Like, what have you learned along the way about yourself, about the industry, and what do you look forward to in the next 5 years?
Okay. The biggest challenge are grant applications if you want to make your own stuff. I am not a fan. No, I'm just kidding. They're actually not. I mean, they're not. They're just lengthy, and I think that's a lot. No, the biggest challenge I would say would be kind of like what we talked about a little bit, managing that time and just making sure priorities. I think priorities are a really, really important thing. Health, family, having a life outside of, and not just focusing on like, this is what I want to do and this is how I'm going to get there. Well, that's great, but you're going to miss so much if that's your only focus. So maybe next time I will take Italy. I don't know, but those are things that that I've learned along the way. Not everybody works the same way that you do, and that's okay. You're going to get to set, and some people are going to be locked in a room and keeping to themselves, and other people are going to probably be at the snack table, drinking all the coffee and eating the really good food, looking for chocolate. No, there's just people work very differently, and that's okay. And I think everyone has this idea that all artists are the same. And we're not. You are going to work very differently, and then you come together on set, and then you make this wonderful, beautiful piece of art. So that would be kind of the challenging part. Where I would like to move forward or kind of see things going in the next 5 years, obviously I want to be a little bit more behind the camera. I want to create more for myself and for people that I want to surround myself with. And I know that it's a huge challenge, especially in the Canadian industry. There isn't as much money here that we would love there to be. A lot of our productions come in from the States, which is great, but we don't know what that means.
Especially now.
Right. So
Yeah.
those are things that, reasons why I want to make sure that that we're still creating things for us. So that's kind of, and just my focus and my drive right now, and we'll see kind of what happens. And then figuring out all these grant things that I really am not a fan of. I'm not a fan of paperwork. I do it and it's fine, but it's not the fun part, obviously, of the industry.
For you, but I will say, there are grant writers out there. Yeah, shout out to those grant writers.
One on our show,
Whoever's
Dana
up there.
Falcon is going to be interviewed, and she is like a grant writer extraordinaire. So we can tune into that one because, my God.
Yes, and that's what I mean. Where I say, like, we all work differently.
Mhm.
It's not my
Mhm.
joy. Other people love it, and thank goodness.
Yeah.
There's definite place for everybody. So yes, yes.
Okay, final question, Jenny. What do you think? I was thinking that when you hear hitting her mark, as a performer, as a mother, as a director, as a producer, as a wife, it goes on. The list just keeps going. But when you think of hitting her mark, what does that mean to you? How do you define success in your life?
It's how my family looks at me. That's really the only thing that matters to me, especially in the last several years. As they're getting older and my kids are getting older and they're moving on, and success for me is how my family views me as a support system, as their mom, as their wife, as their sister, however that is. All of the other stuff is extra. I'm raising 3 girls, right? So 3 girls that I'm bringing up, and you want to make sure there's this fine line of making sure that you're raising wonderful, independent. I don't want to say happy, because I think that that's an unfair thing to put upon somebody to expect them to be happy, but someone that feels content with who they are, and at the same time not holding them back. Like trying to be the mother that you want that everyone wants to have. That's a really, really big part for me. But in terms of hitting the mark, there's so many different things, and I think it's kind of funny because as women, we put all these pressures on us to always hit the mark or go above and beyond in every aspect of our life, and I think that's what causes burnout. So hitting the mark, I see for performance as an actor, obviously putting in your best effort, not burning yourself out. As a mom, putting in all the best effort, not burning yourself out. So that mark is kind of your line for life without traumatizing yourself and not pushing beyond those means that you're capable of doing. I mean, yes, there's the push in life that you want to have, but I think it's a real understanding of knowing when not to push any further, so that you can,
Yeah, that's a great answer.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
It's the
I love that.
pursuit, but recognizing what's important. I love that.
Right, yeah.
And knowing your limits.
Exactly. And I think it's a really hard thing for a lot of people. And it's funny because I think even when it comes down to social media, there's these expectations that you have to be more and you have to be more and you have to be more.
Uh-huh.
And you don't. You just have to be, right? Yeah. And that's what I want for my girls. So I want that for everybody else too. I want them to be content with their life and not destroy themselves in the process of trying to be something else.
Absolutely. Love that. That's great.
Yeah. Amazing.
Putting me on the spot there, ladies. It's fine. Of course, hitting the mark also means when don't miss the red tape on the floor. But thank you so much for having me.
Happens.
Sometimes happens. Not all the time.
That was great. Thanks, Sarah.
All right. Thank you so much, Sarah, for joining us today on Hitting Her Mark. And have a great day.
Thank you so much. And I'm so glad I got to meet you, Monica.
Here's Sarah. Great chatting with you.
So glad to have that conversation with Sarah Cleveland. One of the biggest things that I took away was just her ability. And she said, it was because maybe it was her being naive or whatever, but she just wasn't afraid to ask. And all of a sudden she was like, I know this production company. Do you mind if I shadow you? And then they said yes. They were like, yeah, sure. You just don't know. You don't know unless you ask.
Yeah, 100%. She's a networker too. She'll be at an event and she'll just introduce herself to people and then ends up making these connections. And then, even how she ended up, being this festival director for Eye2Eye Film Festival in Coburg, which is awesome. Like they're obviously doing some great work there, really helping emerging filmmakers and bringing some film to the Coburg market too, which is super cool. Anyway, I just think that's super cool that she's not afraid to put herself out there. She's not afraid to reach out to people. And I think you got to have a little bit of that tenacity in this industry, you know?
Yes. And I think she also said when she reached out to these people, she wasn't expecting them to say yes, but she just did it anyway. And I think so much of our fear and, us not wanting to do stuff is just like maybe getting a no. But in all honesty, I mean, we get enough no's. Like we should be used to it.
Yeah, if we can't handle a no, I think we can handle the no's. We've had a lot of no's. So, yeah, I think it's a testament to just put yourself out there. You like, what's the worst they can say? No? Well, you know how that feels already. So,
Yeah. Or what they won't respond.
yeah.
I'm used to that too. Bitches.
One other thing I want to note is just what was really important to her. Her lever for success was how she shows up as a mom and a partner for her family. That was one thing that I think was really, it's like, don't forget about what's important. And, this business can be all consuming sometimes. And in your desire to move yourself forward or progress your career, let's not forget about what's important. And it sounds like she's got a really good head on her shoulders in terms of priorities,
Yeah. And I also love that she said that right from the get-go, she always knew she wanted to be a mom. And that was always going to be something she was going to do. And acting, right? It's not an either or situation, as, all of us have demonstrated. But so much, like, I definitely know that, I was hesitant to start this career again because I had kids. Sometimes we just think things are going to interfere, but it's like improv. It's yes and, you can definitely do both.
Yeah, it might not be easy, but it's possible. And yeah, I think we have a lot of capacity, more than we ever know. It's funny. It's like even as you get older, you take on more, right? Just responsibilities become more. For example, like my parents are aging, so now I've taken on new responsibilities there to help my parents. Things, and you realize as you're getting older, you're like, you just have to do it. You have to take it on. So you're expanding, whether you like it or not, you do have the capacities. Okay. And on that note, thanks everyone for listening to another episode.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today on Hitting Her Mark. And just so you know, we've been recording all of this on Riverside, which is a great platform if you are so inspired to start your own podcast. And if you enter in the promo code Hitting Her Mark, you can get 15% off. And that is at riverside.fm. And the promo code is Hitting Her Mark. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks, everyone.